Fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
It's the United Socialist States of America. Now, here's your change. Now your fearless host, Wally.
Well, what do you think is the motivation then for all these, specifically the news is reporting that it's young people who are essentially in the streets. What do you think the reason for that is?
Young people want to be the part of European Union because the life would be much better. There will be no corruption, ideally. I'm not sure about that, actually, because the country will change, but the mentality will stay the same, you know. And people will keep, I think people will keep accepting bribes and bribing others.
Because that's just the mentality for so long, it's so ingrained, is that why?
Yeah, it will take decades to change it, I suppose. You cannot just stop taking bribes, right? Right,
and especially if that's the whole system that you grew up in, and that's how you know that things are done, right? It's very hard to change that. From what you know from living there, what would be the positives? I mean, it's pretty brave and it's pretty substantial for all these people to get in the streets. There's certainly going to be consequences to this, and so they must really want it. From their perspective, why do you think it's worth it to them? Why are they doing this?
They've been dreaming about being a part of Europe for really long, and they think that their life will change once we are a part of it. And they're blaming the president for not signing it, but they don't think that he's being cautious and he's trying to save the economy.
Sure, you're not sure what to think. You might support the present president.
Yes, right now I do support it because he is worried about the country. He's saying that he's not signing it right now. He's just delaying it until they can work something out with Russia. And people are just going crazy. They're thinking that it will never happen.
He's known to be a bit of a stooge of Putin's, though, so maybe the people don't trust him.
I don't think our people trust anybody who's in power. Everybody wants just money. Nobody cares about people.
Well, what do you think will end up coming of this situation? Do you think it has the legs to make a difference, or do you think it'll just fizzle out?
What they need to do is the leader of the European Union, Ukrainian, and Russian need to talk together and work it out. Ukraine is being taken apart by European Union and Russia. It's like in between. There's no solution.
Why can't the Ukrainian government just be its own solitary thing? Why does it need to be under the thumb of Russia or the European Union? Why can't it just be its own sovereign? Isn't that the goal?
It's sovereign right now. It's independent from Russia.
But in name only, right? In name only. It appears that Russia can, like you said, can cripple it. It can influence its elections. Isn't that true?
Yeah, but Ukrainians want to be a part of the European Union because make the trade easier, and Ukrainians would be able to travel from country to country. There would be no visa regime. And I think the education would be much better because people can study abroad and travel, see other cultures, and get to know other traditions.
In your opinion, you obviously left the Ukraine. You're living in the United States. But what is the biggest impediment to your life when you're living under the old Soviet sort of sphere of influence? Let's just call it that. Or Ukraine certainly was that. What would you say is the biggest difference now that you're living in America?
There is no obvious corruption going on. The roads are nice. The landscaping is nice. It's garbage all over Ukrainian roads and highways.
Really?
Stray dogs are walking around, stray cats are walking around, and nobody cares. On the roads, you don't see killed deer or chipmunks. You see dogs and cats.
Really?
Yeah. And what else? Medicine. It's horrible. My mom had to bribe a doctor for him to perform a better surgery. And if you don't have money, you don't have a quality care. You need to give a doctor money.
Who's in charge of the health care there?
Government owned.
So it's government run health care?
Yeah.
But it's not good health care?
No, it's not. If you go to a government hospital, it won't be nice, because they don't care. They just need to work their hours and go home. If you go to private hospitals, which we also have, you'll get a much better care, but you'll need to pay for it. And you know what? The politicians and rich people go to have surgeries abroad. They don't go to Ukrainian hospitals. Isn't it ironic?
They don't want anything to do with the public hospitals or the private hospitals. They just leave the country.
Yeah.
What about opportunities? I mean, because I'm trying to get an idea of why young people would do this. I mean, if you think about what they're essentially doing, it's an unbelievably brave thing. I mean, here the American people wouldn't do something like that. So there must be a real passionate motivation to cause them to risk their well-being, turn over the apple cart of their whole country potentially. I'm just searching for, what could give a person that kind of motivation. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. I think one more motivation is that it would be easy to start your own business if you're part of European Union. In Ukraine, it's really hard to, because you need to know people, you need to have connections, you need to have money again to bribe somebody. You need to have a high education. I don't think you can open a business with just high school diploma. So you need to spend 5 years in school and spend a lot of money on starting your own business.
So essentially, they just want to improve the quality of their lives, and they don't see a bright future under the present situation in Ukraine.
No. Plus, our education system is quite poor because, again, you can buy your grades. You don't need to study hard unless you want to. And, of course, you won't have a lot of knowledge finishing school with bad grades.
Right. But apparently if you can bribe your way into jobs, then it doesn't matter, right?
Yes, but it's only if you have money. So there is really little chance for ordinary people with low or medium income to get a good job or start their own business.
I'm really interested in this, and I got to tell you, I'm kind of pulling for the people. I know that there's probably some nuance to it, and it makes sense to me that the president and people might see that there's complication. But I suppose you could make the case that there's complication in every revolution, and every time that powerful people are disrupted by the people, there's always going to be goods and bads. But at the end of the day, Ukraine, it has so much potential. I mean, you're a wonderful testament of that country, your passion and your interest and your motivation and your hard work. And when I think of the Soviet Union and I think of, places like Poland and Czech Republic, and I think of all these people who have all these dreams and potential, and it's just they're just drowning in this oppressive state. So anybody who has enough courage to fight against that, I'm really rooting for them, even though it sounds like it might not go so well after talking to you. It might not break their way. Is that pretty much what you think?
I really hope it works out. I just think we need some time. I don't think they should stop.
Timing's not right.
No, I think they should keep doing it and not give up. Something has to happen.
Well, the last time a country that the Russians consider their sphere of influence, it was a couple years ago, and I think was it Georgia? And the Russians, they put tanks in there. Was it Georgia?
I think so.
Is that who it was? Do you remember that?
So.
And so it could happen again. If the Russians feel threatened by this, they could move in. They've been known to do that, and I hope it doesn't happen because that could get ugly. The Russians have been known to put out fires that way. But the thing about Ukraine, from what I read, is that they're much more powerful and much more independent than I think it was Georgia. That was right around the last Olympics. I don't know if you remember that, but Putin it was like right during the Chinese Olympics, and he just put tanks right into that country. It's crazy.
Yeah, sounds like Putin.
It must be interesting for you to see this in the Western news. It's like such a big story, having grew up there.
Yeah, but I get my news from Russian sources and my mom, too.
The thing about Americans is they usually don't care about foreign policy because they're so intellectually lazy. But this one's kind of a big story, and to have first-hand account, that's pretty cool. Because I prefer that than to just listening to the media, because the media just lies. Thanks, Vika.
You're welcome.
Let me also address a illegitimate concern that's being put forward
by those who are claiming that a public option is somehow a Trojan horse for a single-payer system. A single-payer healthcare plan, universal healthcare plan. That's what I'd like to see.
I think if we get a good public option, it could lead to single-payer, and that's the best way to reach single-payer.
Nobody is talking about some government takeover of healthcare.
I happen to be a proponent of a single-payer universal healthcare plan.
Visit The Atheist Antidote on YouTube, where you'll find more than 100 videos pushing back against the poisonous ideology of secular extremism.
Abrukt, Lay Production.
Cover the truth.